Welcome to MMA Sucks, the show that goes full retard. I am James Benton. With me always is Johnny Irish. Today we have our special guest and buddy and training partner of mine, the pretty one, pretty boy, EJ Brooks, coming in and going to talk to us about what he's been doing, why we haven't seen him recently, and just kind of give us some information about what got him into fighting, all that kind of good stuff. First thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to go over the Hollywood Casino show. I guess, what was the official name of that, Dan? What was it? Whatever it was. It was Hollywood Fights. Okay, so it was the first pro show at Hollywood Casino. Cage Time decided to go ahead and put that on. The interesting card. Unfortunately, you can spend all the money in the world on your production value and getting the information out there, so you get fans to show up and cheer, but you can never count on the fighters to be there. So what had happened, what started off as a card that was supposed to have 3 pro fights, headlined by Chris Heatherly, Stump, and Kevin Engel, turned out to be, which then turned into Stump versus Josh Weston, which would have been a good fight. And then during weigh-ins, I guess Weston had come down with the flu and was unable to show up, so they had to scurry around and find a new partner, a new opponent, and they found Josh Tully, I guess was his name. He's a much bigger fighter. They ended up fighting at, Josh weighed in at 186, and Stump had to quickly eat and hydrate real quickly, try to put on some weight, get back up to 180. He was supposed to fight at 170. Ended up going out there, and that ended up being their main event. The only fight of the pro fights that happened, that was supposed to happen, was Anthony Livingston versus Bo Kuntz, both making their pro debut. I didn't really get to see the fights. Dan, you had seen the Bo Kuntz fight. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I watched video on it. I wasn't there. I was too busy wasting my money going and watching the boxing match. Bo.
I just streamed that shit, man. I stole that shit. Yeah.
It wasn't that good a boxing match.
Well, I mean, Floyd Mayweather's skills are amazing, but essentially it became the Floyd show again, and it's not something that I want to drop $75 on every single time when there's really not. I mean, you have a guy, Canelo Alvarez, who was 43-0 with 30 knockouts by the time he's 23 years old. So, I mean, you can tell, you can go by strength of schedule, quality of opponents versus, Floyd Mayweather, who was 46-0 or 44, it was 46-0, and he has really fought the who's who with a few names that obviously need to be, that people would like to have seen on that list. But he has fought great competition. He's fought great people. Yeah. So, I mean, that was a completely one-sided fight, and to Canelo's credit, he was in there working his ass off the whole time, but Floyd is so good at making people miss. A lot of the crowd didn't even realize that he was missing 90% of those shots. Floyd would make him miss by millimeters, and people just and a lot of the fans thought that punches were landing, so they would cheer or pop, and they completely missed. I mean, Floyd is a master at what he does. He's a master at boxing. He's say what you say about whether or not you want to see him fight or who you want to see him fight. Yeah, jump in, EJ, if you got anything on that.
He's the greatest ever. Like
he really is. He really is.
They don't understand what they're watching. If you're an MMA fan, you probably don't like boxing. I mean, there's wrestling, there's MMA, there's boxing, there's kickboxing. They're completely different styles, and you just gotta respect the sweet science of the sport, man. This dude, he's out there painting the picture out there. He's like Picasso out there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put him in there with names like, if you talk about, well, what would Floyd have done with Sugar Ray Robinson? What would he have done with Leonard? What would have been Duran and Hearns and all those? And the truth is, I believe that Floyd is so defensively and offensively sound that and his speed is amazing. You've got to put him at the top of that list too. So he's really, I mean, you can make you can make a very strong argument that says that he's the best boxer ever. I mean, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, no way, because you got Ali or you got this guy or that guy. And I'm like, man, sit down and really study what Floyd does, man. It put away. I mean, don't think about the persona of Floyd Mayweather, of Money Mayweather. Look at what that man can do. He's truly amazing, and he's an artist. And if you're an MMA fan out there and you don't enjoy boxing or wrestling or even jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, so you're missing out, man. Give it a chance. It's they're really, I mean, it's a really amazing sport.
It was
it was sidetrack there.
It was pretty impressive to watch that fight. I mean, there wasn't the knockouts or the big shots landed that everybody wanted to see, knocking him down. I got the luxury of watching it with next to a table of about 15 to 30 Mexican guys, and the other side is about 15 to 30 Mayweather fans, and it was pretty interesting when everybody was going nuts.
Fans, are you trying not to say African American?
No. It was Americans. It was everybody. It was there was black people in there. There was white people in there too. What it was when they came out. It was a moment I had that I'll never forget. They came out and they did the national anthem for Mexico, and the Mexican guys were erupting. They're turning around and they're like flipping off all the white people, all the black people, like he's gonna whip his ass, and they're screaming their national anthem. And then I was at Hooters up in Maryland Heights, and the entire place erupted when the American national anthem was sung. Everybody stood up and was singing it and yelling at the Mexican people, and they kind of shut up a little bit. They were getting cocky in the beginning, and then I actually I wanted to see a good fight with Mayweather, and I mean Canelo couldn't touch him, so it was pretty impressive.
Couldn't touch him. It was across the board. I mean, again, Charles, I'm gonna enjoy, like, I mean, if Mayweather ever loses, I'm just like, oh wow, it's crazy. And it's the unfortunate thing about being so good when you've completely, transcended beyond like when you start to become bigger than the sport itself, people want to eventually see you lose. And it's kind of sad, because I don't think anybody can beat him unless his skills completely decline like they did with Roy Jones. But the difference between, you got somebody who has the athleticism of Roy Jones and the fundamental science of boxing of Bernard Hopkins. Mm-hmm. That's what you have in Floyd Mayweather. So as he slows a little bit, it doesn't make him any less of a boxer, and that's what we saw. The difference in Roy Jones is we saw that his athleticism was a huge part of what made him him. And when he started to lose that, he obviously declined.
Mayweather's 36 years old, and B-Hop's 42? No, he's older than that. 48.
Yeah.
That means if Mayweather can do that for the next 12 years, first of all, he's going to be able to buy and sell America with all the money he makes on fights. Second of all, that's just really going to solidify where the hell he's at. I don't think he should, but it would be impressive if he could do it.
I think he'll lose interest. I think that's the only way that he loses. And that's what happened with Pacquiao too, where Pacquiao tried to do too many different things. And he was trying to get too much into politics. Freddie Roach said that he was not taking fights seriously. He wasn't training hard. And Juan Manuel Marquez is like his Achilles heel anyway. He's had 4 fights with the man, and he's never had it easy with him ever. His split decisions, majority draws.
As they say, key to the roller skate, man.
For sure.
I mean, Juan Manuel wouldn't be able to. He can't do that with Mayweather that he does with Pacquiao. So, and I mean, they always do he can beat him and he can beat him. I say that's not how it works in fighting.
But he came back much, much bigger for that last fight with Pacquiao. He was Marquez was much bigger than he had been in the past. Maybe he hit the weights, whatever. Who knows? Who knows what happened? I know that Floyd's not afraid to take a test. That's for sure.
No,
Floyd will take a test a week out. Yeah, he'll take a test a week out before a fight. All right, let's get back to Bo Kuntz and Anthony Livingston.
Well, I watched the fight, and we were talking. We had Bo on last week, and we talked about Anthony Livingston. I was worried about that fight for Bo because Livingston has dynamite in his hands. If he lands hard, and Bo was doing decent with him in the beginning. I don't think it was total domination, like he said on Facebook until I watched the video. Anthony had his moments in the first round that he looked like he was going to get stuff. Bo could have finished the fight if his jiu-jitsu was a little bit better in a couple of positions. but comes out second round. He looked really tired and lost, got choked. So I mean, hats off.
He got hit pretty hard though, standing.
Yeah, he got rocked pretty good.
Yeah, he got rocked, and it led to Anthony getting his back, and he got the rear naked choke. So, congratulations for the one pro fight that was supposed to happen that did happen. Going on to the main event, we had a much bigger Josh Tully versus Chris Heatherly Stump, and I guess so. Josh came out firing some powerful leg kicks, and obviously the size difference. You had 6'2" versus 5'8". The size was really, he was using his range and using it well. And Stump's like, okay, well, we got to change this up. And took the fight to the ground. Was having some trouble establishing some solid passing or any kind of positioning. Again, when you're giving up that size and the adrenaline of a fight happens, when a guy shrimps hard and he drives back towards his guard, sometimes it's hard to control the hips, especially when a guy's in shape. So Stump kind of stayed on top, threw his ground and pound, tried to work, ended up getting the unanimous decision. Definitely was not the fight that he was looking for, but I'm sure it was good to get the ring time in coming back after his first loss up in Canada. So it's good to see him get back in the win column, but unfortunately we did not get the fight we were looking for. We did not get that Josh Weston fight. So hopefully down the road that can happen. What's up, EJ?
I want to see that fight with him and Josh Weston. It's just, I'm so tired of like guys around here saying that they good and then like not fighting each other around here. Like, if you don't train in my gym and you in my weight class, we should fight. That's just me personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially if I'm going around saying I'm good. Like Chris Heatherly, he's good. Like he should be fighting top guys in area gyms around here that also say they're good, that's in his weight class. And that goes for like everybody else, Like I was happy to see Johnny and freaking Ken Porter say they was gonna fight. I was like, hell yeah, I want to see that fight. Those are two big names in St. Louis. Why are they not fighting? More of that should be happening. I'm not gonna lie, I will be surprised if that fight happens. You know what I'm saying? But I hope it does. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. Like, somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna realize that, oh shit, I'm about to get embarrassed in front of my hometown, in front of my fans in St. Louis. That's why these fights, people talk crap like, oh, I'll fight him. Then a week or two before the fight, something happened. Oh, I gotta pull out. Oh, my baby mama this. Or my dad kicked me out, and this. And, you know what I'm saying? It's always something. People aren't fighters these days, and it's annoying.
I absolutely can't wait for that fight. I started training camp today for it, so it's gonna be a fun one. And unless I tear my knee in half, I'm fighting on that card. So I mean, that's where a good portion of money comes from.
Where's it going down? Do we have anything? Because I've heard so much about go ahead.
It's gonna be Heart of St. Charles, November 1st. Me and Kenny are fighting at 115. There's a lot of speculation on UFC opening that weight class, and at 25, I've dealt with the best 25ers in Missouri, and I am not big enough or on their level to beat them. So I need to – I can play around and roll with them, but it's not going to – in a fight, me against Sampo, me against Alp's not going to go in my favor. So – and I can make 115. I walk at 132 usually, so 115 is not a hard drop for me. Kenny's a buddy of mine, so it's going to be a fun one, and – I told him, so as long as we have a beer afterwards, I can't wait to do it. So
it's good. I know there's a lot of Jim Jenkins. Yeah, so Jim Jenkins got the fight on that. It's so funny because like I know that I've mentioned that or I've talked to a fighter, and a fighter's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to fight so and so on this card, and then I'll be talking to somebody else, and they'll be like, oh no, that fight's gonna happen on this promoter's card, and oh, we already signed him, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know how many of these, like, it's like there'll be a marquee or fight, where they're like, okay, yeah, this is a good fight, let's get it going, and then somebody will try to put it together, and then 8 other promoters try to steal the fight underneath them, and then try to use their friendships or bullshit to try to snatch the fight, and oh, well, you train with me, so you should fight on my show or do this or that. Not obviously
not happening with this fight. So
yeah. Yeah, and not not throwing that specifically at anybody, because I know it's happened across the board that all promoters have done that, where they've tried to use their buddies to snipe fights away when a promoter's already gone to the trouble of putting things together, and they're like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna let's make it like this. That's a little annoying, and I think we've
Yeah.
lost out on some fights. Same thing. We lost out on the Stump Fioravante fight, which. Maybe down the road that can happen, but who
Interesting
knows?
turn of the tables that Fioravante got sick at Heatherly's fight when they were supposed to fight, and now Weston got sick on Heatherly night before. I mean, it wasn't night of, but it's kind of he's got bad fucking luck. I mean, poor guy.
Or somebody over at Team Burgers poisoning his opponents, putting it out there.
I made a speculation to him about that too, but I don't think
they train in jiu-jitsu, boxing, and alchemy over at Fit or Fight.
Anybody that knows those guys, we ain't smart enough for that shit. What I was gonna say about Heatherly, he's very athletic, and he definitely needs to work his guard passing. The one thing I've always said was the big thing that you lose when you don't wear a gi is guard passing and tight position. I'm not a gi guy. I worn a gi for years. I have a couple go-to guard passes. If you don't wear a gi, your go-to guard pass either punch your way out or explode and hope they let go. And you got a guy with big legs and big guy that he fought in Tully, and he's not going to be able to explode out like he does when he rolls with regular guys, me or other people that he can easily get out of their guard.
Yeah, and everybody knows a fight's different than training. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah, we all know that. But okay, EJ, let's get started, man. I like just to start from the beginning. So you grew up in are you originally from Cahokia, Illinois?
It's Cahokia.
Cahokia.
Yeah. I mean, I was born in East St. Louis, and when I was 8, we moved to Cahokia, which is like right next door.
Sure.
But yeah, same town, pretty much.
At what point? So you started with wrestling, right?
Yeah, I started wrestling as a high school freshman.
As a high school, okay. So you didn't do any little league or anything like that. What other sports did you play as a kid?
I mean, I played basketball and I played soccer. And in high school, I ran track, played soccer, and I wrestled. Those were my sports.
Mostly, yeah. So, during your when you were coming up, man, did you end up getting a lot of fights as a kid, or what led you down the kind of path that you ended up going as a fighter? I mean, were you always a kid who always stood up for himself, or were you just a nice, relaxed guy that got along with everybody?
Well, actually, the funny thing is I really did get into a lot of fights growing up because I was the oldest of 4 kids, and I didn't have a big brother, so you always got those people who would like kind of pick on you. You didn't have nobody to defend you, so I was actually having to defend myself. Always having to fight people that picked on my brothers or my little sister. And anybody that knows me personally knows that I'm kind of a goofy guy. Like I'm always joking and stuff like that. And I've never been ugly, so I was always kind of that goofy pretty boy that made the girls laugh and girls like being around me. So growing up in the hood, I had a lot of guys that would think that I was a punk or that I was weak because I'm cracking jokes and I'm hanging around girls all the time, and they would try me, and then they would get beat up in front of the girls, So, yeah, I've always been fighting. It's not that I like fighting. I mean, it's just I don't take crap from nobody.
Yeah, but it's not something you're going to back down from. It's not something that you had to develop that skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I came from the other side of that. I was a big guy always, and and I grew up out in the middle of nowhere in the sticks and stuff like that, out in the woods. So the reaction of like, okay, when people are screaming and in a bar setting and everybody's pumping up and they got their beer muscles on, I'm like that part for me is just awful. I'm sitting there, your fight or flight's going off, and I'm kind of like, will somebody just fucking shit or get off the pot so we can do something that I'm comfortable doing? And that's like punching, it's like, can we just punch each other in the face and stop trying to solve this with our words? It's too stressful for me. You guys are talking too much. It's upsetting me, and
I'm kind of the same way when I'm in a club. Like I don't like fighting in a club, obviously, because like I can get in trouble and stuff like that. And I'm not. Sure. I really don't even like fighting. I mean, I like sparring. I like, working out. But as far as like actually like fighting, I'm too pretty for that. It's just it's just not me. And when I go to the club, I don't know about you. I'm not in the club looking for a fight. I'm in the club looking for some strange. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, totally. And but you know how it is. Everybody wants what you have. So
Yeah.
if you either get a good looking girl there or you show up with a good looking girl, then you get like and
You
you guys
bring
kind of know
fish
my
to the pond,
girlfriend.
dog. I don't bring fish to the pond.
Yeah. I'm notorious for bringing sand to the beach, man. I'm
That's what.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I've seen you. I've seen you. That one chick with the big old boobies. Remember that time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm actually at her house right now. You can see some of her clubbing pictures up on the wall right there.
that's
That's
what's
all.
up. Huh?
Yeah. That's her and my little sister right there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Uh she yeah, so I know what you're talking about, man. I remember being up in and this is like, KC, like a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, Kansas City is like kind of a cool place or can be a cool place. KC to me is like a mixture of fucking what should be a nice place, but the fucking people there, like I just don't understand, man. I know again, you run into like nice people everywhere, but in general, man, I've like they have totally got us beat on just random fucking groups of dudes that are just fucking assholes for no reason. And I'm sitting there with one of my military buddies who's a fighter. He's a 11 series infantry guy. He's been deployed multiple times. Tough guy, but he's a real good. Before he got into the military, he was an Abercrombie and Fitch model, so we always give him shit about that. And we actually fucking stole some of his pictures and we're posting them around and shit like that. We fuck with that guy so bad. But he's the kind of guy, man. That motherfucker learned how to play guitar and sing them Jason Mraz songs and shit like that. And he'll be walking around swooning women. Like it's like you just don't stand a chance with that guy around. He ended up getting married though. So he's finally calmed down. But we were up there, and this group of 6 guys came up on us, and it just happened to be me, him, and Teresa because we was up in the piano bar out in Power and Light. And so downstairs, they've got probably 60 of our buddies, plus all the guys from the Titan Fighting Challenge. And fighters will stick together in that situation for sure. It was like we don't even have to know each other that well. But if you're an MMA guy and I'm an MMA fighter and some random fucking assholes are doing some fucking shit, you see a lot of guys get each other's back just because it's like, oh hey man, shared suffering. I know what it's like to eat shit in the gym and fucking work my ass off, man. We probably got more in common than we do differences. So this guy comes up and actually says, Teresa, he's like, I just want to know what it's like to fuck you in the ass. And I said, what? And I was dumbfounded by the whole situation. And and he kind of like turned towards me, kind of like, what are you gonna do about it? Because he's got 6 of his boys backing him up. And I was kind of like, okay, Teresa's too scared to walk down the stairs and go tap somebody on the shoulder, tap the other guys on the shoulder, because we would have had 90 guys rush the fucking second story of that fucking place. And then Charles is ready to bang. Charles is ready to fight. But he's seen it as like, fuck, I'm going to have to do the talking on this, which I hate doing. And so my whole thing was I immediately started to chastise him. I was like, how dare you speak to a woman like that? I was like, you've got a mother? What would it be like if somebody said that to your mother, man? I guarantee she would be ashamed of you right now. And I just started fucking chastising the shit about him all over. And a couple of friends started to step up like they're going to do shit. So I kind of cleared and got some angles. So I had some moving space. So I was like, there's no way, because it's up on a balcony. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I need some moving space right here. And I'm starting to step back, and I'm drawing 2 or 3 of them out. And I'm like, cool, some of these small motherfuckers are going to walk up here. They're going to get knocked out before their bigger friends can get up off the fucking other. So I'm drawing them out. And the whole time I'm kind of chastising them, being like, how dare you, that kind of number and shit like that. Then what ended up happening was so the guy started to pull forward right there, pull up towards me, and I'm like, fuck yeah. And I started to beeline it. And his 2 bigger buddies went up and grabbed him, started pulling back, and started apologizing. So the second shit was like, boom, ready to go off. I had the angle that I needed, because I was like, I had about 3 of them almost lined up slightly, and I had moving space. I was just going to run through, bop, 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 bop. Charles would have been right behind me. He's a big boy. He's like 6'2", 210, good in shape guy. He'd have been right behind me, and I was like, okay, we're going to fucking nap 3 of these dudes before we get the other guys. But I didn't want to fight on the balcony part, because I had to pull them away, because I know what's going to happen. They're gonna encase in on top of me. Well, I ain't going to fucking go down, man. And fat little rednecks ain't going to do shit to me, man. They can't hit hard enough to fucking drop a real man. So what was going to happen was I was going to have to start throwing guys off the balcony, and I didn't want to have to kill somebody. So I'm like, cool, going to drop them back in, and but their big guys end up stepping in. What pissed me off the worst is these fucking bouncers were standing right there, and they were like, hey man, we appreciate how you handled the situation. You took care of that really, really well. I was like, motherfuckers, you were there. 6 dudes were trying to start a fight with 2 guys. They insulted a woman, okay, who's probably one of the hottest women you have in here right now, and y'all just sat on your fucking hands because you didn't want to get involved. That's fucking bullshit, man. I was like, y'all didn't do your fucking job, man. Your fucking manager should be fucking pissed at you right now. And that's just it kind of went like that. But so anyway, long story longer, the I just know how it is, these fucking clubs, man. Groups of guys are just like, oh, hey, man, and so you come in with, you bring a sand to the beach, you got a couple of hot girls with you, then, you're fucked. The guy's always starting shit. So I always constantly have to be fucking watching my back for that shit. It sucks.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So EJ, you're in high school. You started wrestling. What got you into wrestling?
It was funny. I was actually on the basketball team, and I got kicked off for getting into it with one of the coaches, and I ran into the wrestling coach in the lunchroom, and he was sitting with the football coach, and they were like just trying to get people out for wrestling, and the wrestling coach was he kind of tricked me. He was just like, who your size, your weight can kick your ass, and I was thinking, okay, I'm 5'5", 130 pounds, skinny, and I be beating up people who's bigger than me. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm visualizing another 5'5", skinny, 130-pound guy. And I was like, nobody. So I went out for it, started wrestling, and I was doing all right at practice. And I was just about to quit before the first match because I kept getting all these bruises on my face and like scratches and stuff. Like I said, I've always been a pretty boy, so I was like, man, I can't be having this shit. So the coach was just like, well, we got the first match in a couple of days. Why don't you just wait till after that first match? And if you like it, great. If you don't, then you can quit. And I was like, all right. So I wrestled. I did good, and I was hooked ever since then. Yeah.
That's great, man. What did you what kind of accomplishments did you get in high school?
My junior senior year, I made the state in Illinois. I played my senior year. I was a high school All-American, high school All-State, and I mean that was my wrestling accomplishment. I was first team All-Metro uh, for the St. Louis Post Dispatch, which was kind of a big deal.
Illinois is a tough wrestling state too. They have
Yeah.
great wrestling.
Yeah, I was Southern Illinois Wrestler of the Year for my senior year. Yeah, I was. I mean, I was pretty decent in high school. I mean, you know,
What weight classes did you wrestle at?
uh, I was at 30, 35, 40, and 45.
So a lot smaller than you are now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I got to bring it up. Did you get to wrestle Chandler in high school at all?
Uh, yeah, we wrestled in a high school all star match. Illinois versus Missouri. I had to bump up to wrestle him. He was at 52. I was at 45, and I came in sick that day, and I still won.
He still won. He faked me out on that one, man. I was like, shit. So I bring it up. Was that the birth of the of kind of a rivalry between you two? I know it's mostly just competitive, and was that the beginning, or did that not really kick off until later?
I mean, technically, it was the beginning. I mean, I didn't know that our paths would cross again the way that they did, but yeah,
And
that's
keep
where
crossing.
it ain't over. Well, it might be because I don't plan on going back to that organization
Yeah,
anytime
yeah. Well,
anytime soon. I'm not saying it won't
mhm.
happen. I'm just saying I got other plans.
Sure. So, college opportunities. At what point did you start hearing from colleges? What made you decide to go the directions you did?
Uh, well, honestly, and it goes back with like starting wrestling. Like growing up, I was always a really good athlete. Like I was really good at track, soccer, everything I did, even basketball. I was actually really good. One of my nicknames that I got from my boy Rashad Riley was Bo, as in Bo Jackson, because I was always good at everything, and they was like, "Oh, you know how to do everything." So they called me like they used to say Bo Nose, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But um, my wrestling coach was the first person to ever tell me that I could go to college. Like he was pretty much the first person outside of my mom that told me I could do or be anything. You know, because I wasn't always. I mean, at my school, you know, like in Cahokia, East St. Louis, if you say you're fast, that means you are fast. Okay. Now I'm fast for the average person. You know, I'm really fast. But where I'm from, like, I mean, Cahokia is probably one of the last 4 or 5 state titles in track. You get what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't an All American track runner. I wasn't an All American football player. I wasn't an All American soccer. And my high school wrestling coach, he told me if I stuck with it, I would be able to go to college. So I was just like, you know, I was just dumbfounded, like, okay, you know. So anyway, I went to junior college in Lincoln, Illinois, school that Matt Hughes went to, and I won a junior college national title there. I actually beat the guy that beat me at state. My senior year at state, I lost to Matt Collum in the semis, and Matt Collum went on to win that state title and win the national title in high school. And the very next year, when we both freshmen in junior college, we wrestled each other first round of the national tournament, and I beat him. And then I went on to win the national title. And unfortunately for him, he didn't place, but he ended up winning it the next year. But that's neither here nor there. But so I won that junior college national title. I was the number one recruit coming out of junior college, and I wanted to stay in the Midwest so that my mother could come see me wrestle. You know, not to mention my high school coach was a Missouri alumni. And I grew up watching Tyron Woodley. You know, when I was in high school, I was a big fan of Tyron Woodley. So I was like, okay, my mom can see me wrestle. My high school coach went there. I can go there. And Tyron Woodley is there. And I was going to be one of his roommates for a few months. So I was like, okay, cool. So I signed there. And I just remember the first day when I got to Mizzou, it was just like instant animosity from everybody on just a lot of scales for a lot of stupid stuff. And it was just, you know, everybody was pro Chandler. It was just like, you know, I was this black guy coming in to beat this golden boy, you know, and people didn't like me just off that alone. They didn't like me. And, you know, the rest is history. We wrestled and I won. And I kind of got the shit end of the stick as far as like who got to go. And that's what people don't understand is in wrestling, it's pretty simple. It's me versus you. Whoever wins is the best guy, right?
Sure.
That's what I loved about it. You know, it's not like, oh, the football this guy's better at that position, so we're going to start him. You know, no. You think he's better? We wrestle each other. Whoever wins, that's who's best. Well, unfortunately, in college, it doesn't work like that. If the coach feels like he wants to go with another guy, that's who he's going with. It doesn't matter if you beat him, and I learned that the hard way.
Now, I mean, had Chandler had a longer running relationship with the coaching staff there, or what was our? Did you guys both come up at the same time?
Well, I mean, he was there before me because I ended up transferring, but
Oh, right,
yeah,
yeah.
he definitely had like a father son relationship with the coach. I mean,
So he was already known as like he was known as one of their good wrestlers. He had 2 years advantage being there sooner, and then and Chandler does have an amazing work ethic. He's a hard worker. He's a talented guy himself. But when you came in, you were able to beat him for the spot, and they just said no, it's not going to happen.
pretty much that's exactly what happened.
You have any idea why that might have been? What the reasoning was to not put you in the spot and put Chandler above you? If you can beat him, and I mean, you beat him, and they still didn't put you in the spot.
Well, I would get the spot, and then like obviously I would win the spot, and they would I would have to like start, and then towards the middle of the season, like something would happen, and like twice I got hurt in the middle of the season. Then I came back, and it was like, oh well, we're still gonna go with Chandler. You know, he's been wrestling well, and it would be wrong to just take him out of the lineup. And I'm just like, well, what about me? You know what I'm saying? And it was just, I mean, it was so long ago, and I really hate like talking about it because it just like pisses me off. You know, like that was my college career at Mizzou was like a very rough time in my life, and it sucked really bad, man. Just beating somebody and knowing that you're good enough to be an All-American Division One, but you don't get the chance. Like there are a lot of people who could say, "Oh well, I was good enough to beat this guy, but I never got the chance." No, I was good enough to beat this guy. I beat that guy, and then they were just like, "Oh yeah, you won, but tough rocks. Sit down."
With the long-standing rivalry between you two, you definitely want to fight him in the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm over it, but like, dude, like when I originally signed with Bellator, that was the plan, and then I kind of ran into like another situation, like I was in college. You know what I'm saying? Like I was not put in tournaments. You know, I think I was not put in tournaments to make sure that I didn't see him. You know, and I just like I want to fight. I don't like to do personally. Like I know him on a different level than most people know him. Like I was actually teammates with the guy. I was unfortunately, I mean, we've been to parties together. You know, like I know he claims to be a virgin, but me and Chandler have actually picked up chicks together. You know, so like I know the real Chandler. You
He,
know, so
he's pulling a Tim Tebow.
oh my goodness, you don't even know. You don't even know. But it's just like, man, it's I know the guy. I'm gonna tell you a funny story about this guy. My first party that I went to on Mizzou campus, he was there. We were all there as a team, and we knew we had to compete against each other. So it's kind of like, like we kind of act nice to each other, but like, we kind of that
Still
uneasy.
some tension.
Yeah, still some tension. And I think he thought that I was just kind of like, some athlete that didn't work hard and just I wasn't dedicated. So we're at a party and we're in preseason, like we're working hard. We should definitely be disciplined. And he doesn't drink, supposedly. He doesn't, like do bad stuff. He grabs a beer and he's like, "Hey, here you go." And I'm looking at it and I'm like, "Dude." I looked him dead and I was like, "We in preseason, man. I don't drink. What's wrong with you?" And then like the look on his face, he was so shocked. I was like, it was like we both made eye contact and he realized that not only am I an athlete and I'm talented, I work hard, I'm dedicated, and I'm here to kick your ass. You know what I'm saying? And like, I mean, it's just, but like I said, he's a scumbag, right? I can't stand it. But personally, I would fight him for free. I don't like to do it like this. And it won't be over. That's the shitty thing is like if we fought, it wouldn't be over because of everything that's happened to me because of him. Because he never did anything to me. Chandler never did a thing to me. I won. He is a dickhead. You know what I'm saying? So because he's a dickhead and we were in the same weight class, I couldn't stand him. Most people can't stand him. I have more reasons to hate him. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's only two things that would attract me back to Bellator, and that'd be to fight the guy that beat me and to fight Chandler. You know what I'm saying? But I'm really close to being where I want to be, and I got my eye on that prize right
Well, you one good thing obviously came out of going to Mizzou was your relationship with Tyron Woodley, who's been like family for a long time for you, and uh, he's always had your back. So I mean, at least with the negativity and bad things that happen as a result of being out there, you probably made one of the best friends you'll ever have. So I mean,
there. Trust me, I love my experience at Mizzou as far as like other stuff goes. It's just like my wrestling experience just wasn't what I wanted to be.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So you come back, you link up with Tyron Woodley. At what point did you decide to start training with St. Charles Mixed Martial Arts?
Well, the thing was, I didn't even come back. I was at home. It was 2009. I just finished with school, and I was actually going to stay up in Columbia and um, just hang out. I was going to move my brother up there for wrestling, and so I could watch him and stuff like that. And the funny thing was, there was rumors going around from a few of my teammates that was like, "Hey, Chandler just started doing MMA, and he said that he's going to pick a fight with you one night at a party before graduation." And I had heard this from like three or four of my teammates, and I was like, "What?" And, I was pretty confident. I was like, "I've been fighting my whole life. Okay, he just started taking a couple boxing classes and stuff like that." And I was like, "Yeah, I have been sitting on the couch eating Doritos and playing Smash Brothers on Wii for a few months. I'm a little out of shape. I might want to be in shape if he actually does try to fight me." So I asked Tyron, I was like, "Huh, what do you think about if I start training MMA?" He was like, "You should." He's like, "Matter of fact, you need to come to St. Louis this weekend and meet Mike Rogers. And I was like, I don't know about all that. Then he was like, no, you need to come up here or I'm going to come up there and I'm going to kick your ass. Like, he literally threatened me and told me I need to come to St. Louis. So I came home that weekend, trained with Mike, and I trained with I think yeah, it was I went over to Guidry's also. So that weekend I trained with Mike and I trained with Guidry. And I liked it and I was like, huh. So I ended up moving down, I'd say about a month later for good, and I've been here ever since.
So how long did you think your amateur career? So you took some amateur fights. So you had 7 amateur fights. Is that how many?
No, I had 5.
Five, five. I mean, you knew really quickly that you didn't really need to stay as an amateur too long. I don't think anybody really gave you any challenge as an amateur, did they?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I was like I said, Mike told me I had to have 5 fights as an amateur. He told me he just wanted me to learn. So I had 5 fights as an amateur, and I had a boxing fight, I had a Muay Thai fight, had to do some jiu-jitsu tournaments. I think Mike did a really good job of making sure I learned all aspects of MMA. You know, taking boxing fights, coming from a wrestling background, making sure that I was in a fight where I had to throw hands the whole time. You know, which came naturally to me because, like I said, I've been fighting since I was a little kid. So like throwing hands ain't nothing to me for real.
It's good. It's good. So you make your pro debut. You actually ended up was it down in Georgia? Is that where it
Yeah,
was?
yeah, it was in Atlanta.
Yeah, in Atlanta, and they brought you in to lose to the Golden Boy down there. They were not happy with what they got, were they?
No, they weren't. They matter of fact, the promoter didn't even give us a ride back to the airport the next morning. Like he just gave us our check and said F us. They were pissed.
Yeah, they tried to. From what I understand, you controlled the entire fight the whole time, and they still try to rob you on a decision.
Yeah, yeah. It was funny because I won a unanimous decision, and then the promoter put on the internet that I won a questionable split decision against the
Oh,
guy. You know, it was a crazy fight because honestly, I almost got knocked out twice in the first round. He rocked me twice, and I think he scored a 10-8 round first round, and then I scored 2 10-8 rounds the next 2 rounds. It was crazy.
so so then fast forward a little bit. You win some fights locally. You get a call from a big show. What was it like? What was the thought process going behind getting involved in Bellator?
Well, Bellator, they had wanted to sign me um at 2-0. You know, I just because it took me a whole year to get a fight. I made that pro debut, and then that organization, even though they were shitty, they folded and they like let me out of my contract, so I couldn't get a fight. Like nobody wanted to fight me, and I'm not saying that I was like hot shit or this and that, but I literally just couldn't. Maybe because it was my wrestling background or what. Nobody wanted to take a fight, and I knew, like I wasn't able to get to the UFC without getting fights. So Bellator called my manager at the time and was like, "We'll take EJ at 2-0 because we know EJ's not gonna be able to get fights from anybody because nobody's gonna want to fight him with his wrestling background." So I signed with them secretly. I didn't tell anybody because I wanted to fight on that Fight Me card that I fought on like years ago, and I knew if I dropped it, I'd sign with Bellator. They were probably gonna find a reason to pull me off the card, and I wanted to win and I wanted the money. So yeah, like I said, Bellator pretty much they jumped on me, gave me a signing bonus. They were really high on me at first, and honestly, I think my situation that happened, where things were wrong with Bellator was like the same thing that happened in college. They really liked me, and then Chandler blossomed because when I signed with Mizzou, Chandler didn't like really do anything yet, and then that year that I had signed, he like went to nationals and did good. So coming in, they were really high on him, and now they had already signed this guy that was supposed to be not his replacement, but the person in his spot. So Bellator had signed me thinking that like when I first signed with Bellator, they told me I was going to be the guy to beat Eddie Alvarez. So Chandler beats Eddie Alvarez, and they want to like build him, and I felt like the powers that be were like, we need to build Chandler. We need to keep this guy away from him as long as possible, you know. And then like my situation was when I lost that fight, they told me, it was like, you probably won't see another tournament for 2 years. So like, I've been with you for 2 years. The tournament that happened in January of this year, I was supposed to be in. So since I lost that fight in October, they was like, oh, we can't put you in a tournament after a loss. So like, once again, I get screwed out of a tournament, and you telling me, oh, I got to build myself 3 fights in a year to qualify for a tournament, and then they said that's not a guarantee that even when um, you qualify for a tournament, they will have a tournament that season. So I could have been waiting a year and a half to 2 years to see a tournament, and then still wouldn't see Chandler for another like 3 to 6 months.
So what do you think the reason is? I mean, he's gone on to become the champion of Bellator as like the great white hope of MMA for that weight class. Do you think there's any type of racism or anything from Bjorn Rebney or anything, any type of that that's really holding you back from them, or are they just assholes?
No, I mean everything he has, he's earned. Like he's definitely a top 10 lightweight. Trust me, I can't stand the guy, but I'm not gonna disrespect him and his career. Like the dude's top notch. He's earned everything. Um,
It was just
no,
kind of, it wasn't like a race related thing. He just
no,
happens to be the guy that blossomed. They didn't necessarily think he was going to beat Eddie Alvarez, and then he came in there and put on an amazing fight. And they're like, okay, we need to invest everything in this guy, but we got a guy on the payroll right now that seems to constantly have this guy's number.
yeah, exactly.
So, even looking at the last 55 tournament, we can go through the guys. I mean, how do you think you do with Asad Awad?
Honestly, to tell you the truth, and I've always thought this, there was nobody on the Bellator roster that I thought could beat me or Chandler because I felt like me and Chandler were the best athletes. We're so much bigger than everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at how big we are as far as like muscle, because we're Division 1 wrestlers. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, you know, even Rick Hahn, who was pretty much as big as us, he didn't have our grappling. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't. I just felt like the only person that could beat Chandler or an Askren is somebody who matches their wrestling or matches it enough to neutralize it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So
yeah,
like,
for sure. Rick was an Olympic judo player, which is, and it's come from a guy who spent, that's what I did. I never got to wrestle. I learned how to wrestle from guys like Mike Rogers, and I was a judo guy. I did judo most of my life. I never had the opportunity to learn how to wrestle, and I like to just point that out as a perfect example. Yeah, Chandler had the better striking when he fought Rick. You could really see a difference in the takedown skill set between a high level judo player versus a high level wrestler. And the truth is, in the United States, our judo is not comparable to our wrestling. That's the truth.
no, and that's just what it is. I think bottom line is Bellator was trying to build themselves. They still are, and he's the face of Bellator, so I can see why they are trying to build him and protect him. They have to. He's an investment. So like I said, I'm not even mad at them for like my situation because honestly, a lot of the stuff like I put myself in bad situations. Like when I missed weight for like my first 2 fights. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm not gonna put everything on them. You know what I'm saying? Because I definitely made my mistakes and stuff like that. And obviously I lost my last fight. If I didn't lose that last fight, I wouldn't be here. You know what I mean?
They wouldn't have the choice. Yeah,
Yeah, they wouldn't have the choice.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they buried you anyway. You know,
I don't
they
know.
they
Yeah,
and like my buddy who won the last tournament, Dave Rickles, great striker coming along with his jiu-jitsu, but he does not have the wrestling background to hang with these guys yet. You saw Assad came out there and goes, yeah, I don't think I'm going to strike with you much, and just went ahead and tried to get the decision based off of takedowns and some ground and pound work. And I know if you look at Rickles' record, you see all these triangle wins and stuff like that, but he's not a jiu-jitsu guy. He's not. I mean, he likes to strike, and he was lucky enough. Well, not lucky. I mean, he stayed diligent enough in his fight where he was able to scramble up, get up to his feet, and then Assad was in a position to have to trade with him, and that was a complete mistake. But so Rickles wins the tournament. Very good friend of mine, and then he has to go in and fight Chandler, and they were calling me. They're like, "Hey, man, what do you think? What kind of drills do you think we should do against Chandler?" And I was like, "Dude, I don't know how to have a guy who with Rickles wrestling fight Chandler. I don't know what to tell you to try to develop that kind of skill set. And what I thought was interesting about now, maybe this was coincidence or not, but with injuries and stuff like that, they tried to bump up the Chandler fight as quickly as possible with Rickles. It's like, we don't want this guy to get any better at wrestling before he has to fight Chandler. And and of course Chandler went out there and made quick work of him anyway, and it didn't really matter. But it was interesting that how quickly they tried to get him in the ring with Chandler, as as he was developing and getting better, and he's right back at it anyway. He'd shake it off and get right back in the ring. But how quickly they tried to change it. I mean, how like within months of him winning the tournament, it was supposed to be 3 or 4 months after when it actually happened. So it's kind of interesting. I don't really trust Mr. Rebney. I don't really know too many fighters that have left Bellator or who really have great things to say about the organization. I mean, some do. Some have some, oh, it was okay. It was just a regular, situation. But a lot of guys tell stories of, hey, clearly they're playing favorites. They try to tell you how to fight. They try to, they won't let you just go out there and they match 2 guys up that are good and they have them fight, and the winner comes out of it, and then the winner goes on, the loser goes back to the drawing board. And they really try to sell that in the tournament atmosphere, but then they completely try to stack the deck to get the kind of fights and predictable fights that they want at what when they want it. It's like, if I can't imagine what they would have been telling Rickles if he started going out there and taking people down and just submitting people. No, they wanted him to stand up, and in addition to that, they wouldn't let him throw elbows. Once he got in the tournament, you can't throw elbows, and that's a huge part of Rickles' game, is throwing elbows from a standing clinch position, and never gave him, outside of his first fight with Bellator, he never got the opportunity. And I thought it was ridiculous because he had one fight at 170, and they were already, or maybe he had 2 fights with Bellator at 170, and they already had put him in the tournament. And this is after they had signed. They had a ton of guys. They had Douglas Lima. They had they still had Ben Saunders. They had a couple of big name guys. They didn't necessarily need to get Rickles in that tournament, and they did. But who knows? And then the situation we look with King Mo loses his fight, and then the next thing you know, they're scrambling as much as they can to oh, that was a fluke. Let's right the wrong. And it's like, no, a fight happens and somebody's going to lose, and sometimes it's not the person you think. And so King Mo has had one fight since that loss. He won a decision, or it was a decision, wasn't it? Anyway, so he wins the fight, and they've already got him fighting for the title again, which is an interim title. They're rematching him against the guy he lost for an interim title. So it's ridiculous. So, EJ, you did not get fired or cut or anything like that. You requested out, right? I mean, is that okay? We talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you requested out of your contract. They let you go. You're lucky. Just be happy that you got out when you did. Obviously, you see the bullshit that they're playing with Askren. They're trying to wait until the UFC. Or wait, I mean, hell, we already saw what happened with Eddie Alvarez. But they're going to wait until the UFC puts an offer on Ben Askren. Well, Dana White doesn't necessarily like his style, so he's going to lowball him. So then Bjorn can come back with some kind of bullshit offer on Askren, on their most dominant champion, and then lowball their own champion, because he's not as entertaining as they would like.
Yeah.
I believe Lawal had 2 fights, and they're both stoppages in between, but they were.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I remember he fought
good.
Seth Petrozelli, and had another one that I can't remember who he fought, but they were both fights that they were back-to-back real quick fights. I mean, they put all that money and time into King Mo, and he comes out and gets knocked out by a guy that nobody ever heard of, and with a goofy punch. I mean, the guy was good, but he didn't even know he knocked him out. He started trying to choke him while the guy was unconscious. I think the playing favorites is actually going to hold Bellator back from becoming what it could become, because on paper they have a great game plan, the tournament style, they have the television that UFC didn't have, and them playing favorites I think is really going to hurt them in the long run. Getting the people that they want, high-level people, they're going to get and try and match them up with people that they shouldn't be fighting on paper. King Mo versus Emmanuel Newton. he shouldn't have been fighting him. I mean, Emmanuel didn't have the caliber, but he still pulled it off. So I guess,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he showed us that the Philly shelf doesn't work too well against the spinning back fist. Coming back with some old Taekwondo karate style type attacks. Throw the right step forward and spin through and hit with the back fist. But again,
mm-hmm.
that's what we're starting to see the comeback with some of the traditional styles and techniques and things like that. Stuff that's not used in boxing.
And I mean, I think Mo was just being a little bit too cocky in that fight. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a phenomenal wrestler. His hands are great. Now they say his chin's suspect from that. I don't know about that, but he
Well, you
looked.
get a big guy that probably weighed 225, 230
Yeah.
coming into that fight, and when he spins through and he hits you right in the jaw with his hand, with all that torque and momentum from the spin
Mm-hmm.
through,
I'm
a
not
lot
gonna.
of guys are going to go down to that. But then again, the second the egg gets cracked, you can't necessarily come back from it. We talked about that a bunch of times about coaches letting young fighters win fights based off of their chin instead of redeveloping their footwork so they don't get hit, because that's what the MMA game is about. It's
Yeah.
about not getting hit, and if you do get hit, you got to be able to persevere. But at the same time, you're not going to have a long career if you're constantly getting hit in your fights and you can just take the shots.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a stopping level on that. Where guys are not gonna.
I think having too many fights is can mess you up too. Having 20, 30 amateur MMA fights and a couple hundred boxing matches could mess up your chin also from getting hit so much. You only get so many before that has to go, you know. So maybe
Yeah.
underdoing the fights. Have an X amount of number, 10, 15 fights max, 30 maybe a little too much. And that could be something that we don't know how hard he's training in the gym either. So.
And we see that with amateurs now that have like 30 or 40 amateur fights, but like no boxing matches.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a real mistake. It's like, go get some boxing matches, man. If you're used to taking guys down and you beat them on the ground and stuff like that, man, and you're wanting to, oh, this fight I want to work my hands, but then the guy starts throwing punches at you and you're like, oh crap, the takedown's too easy to get, and you're gonna fall back on that. So you got to get in a situation just like EJ was talking about. He took some boxing matches, took some Muay Thai fights too. Stuff that he's gonna have to do that. So EJ, would you recommend for a young fighter to sign with Bellator, or would you say to try to avoid that avenue, or is it just
Yeah. I mean, I I would say you could definitely sign with Bellator. It's not a bad organization. No, I mean, outside of not being put in a tournament, I mean, like I had a pretty good experience. The people were nice. I mean, to my face, they were very nice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like that's what anybody. That's what any organization, with anybody you work with. Like you never know what people are saying about you behind closed doors. Now, to my face, they were very nice. They were very supportive. Um, I'm just saying, like it depends, because some people are only Bellator material or only World Series fighter material. Some people aren't meant to be in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there are those fighters that you see in organizations that you'd be like, okay, he's a good fighter, but you'd never see him in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just where like some guys are. So yeah, if you're a young fighter and you want to make money and you're not good enough for the UFC, but you're still good enough to be seen on TV, yeah, why not go there?
it's like somebody's got to play for the Chillicothe Mud Sharks. Not everybody can play for the Cubs or the Cardinals.
Yeah, exactly. And then
And
hey,
and but that's what this is all about. It's like, it was interesting when Strikeforce was around because you saw UFC caliber talent on a show in the United States that was not the UFC, and you saw that high level of talent. We see that with guys. One of my favorite fighters, Jorge Masvidal.
Mhm.
Constantly putting on wonderful fights, and then when he moves into the UFC, when they merged, they picked him up, and he kind of flew underneath the radar for a minute with a lot of people. I know a lot of people don't consider him there's so many great fighters. How do you set a top 10 when you have so much quality out there?
yeah, I
But
trained with the dude down in because I'm an American Top Team affiliate, and I trained with him down in Coconut Creek, Florida. Like I was actually one of his main training partners for his last fight because he was fighting a southpaw. And the dude he's a freak, man.
He's a damn good fighter. Well,
Yeah,
he's been in the game for so long, man. He's one of those guys that just, I'm glad to see him get some TV time and because he always puts on a good fight, and it's just, you know, like people don't realize, yeah, they got Gilbert Melendez at the 55 division that they picked up from Strikeforce, but they also got Jorge Masvidal, and who's a very very good fighter, man. I really like watching him fight. Um, so you decided to go ahead and you ended up signing with the RFA. What made you decide that? As opposed to what were some of the other offers on the table?
Uh, well, there was a World Series of Fighting and CFA. The World Series of Fight thing is still an option. Um, I'm kind of like in talks with them a little bit, but that's just like later on, because I'm with RFA, and if I win, like I think I wanna have a couple fights with RFA. I'm in no hurry to get to where I want to be. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna like eliminate other options. Like everybody wants to be in the UFC. And I think I'm UFC material. But if I get a really good contract off from World Series of Fighting, or if, I mean, Bellator's been talking like they want me back, but it's kind of like getting back with your ex girlfriend. It's just kind of like,
Don't
uh,
look back, always looking forward.
yeah, and like I said, I got nothing against Bellator. Like I really, I mean, I just like I did the whole like go to another organization besides UFC. So I've been there. Now the goal is to go to UFC. So I'm finna go to RFA. I'm finna bust some people up, and then I'm most likely gonna sign with the UFC unless World Series of Fighting offers me something better. You know, like if World Series of Fighting is offering me good money to beat up less competition, I'm probably taking that. Because I'm in it for the money. I'm not really in it for the fame and the glory. It's just a smart investment. Why do you think Chandler decided to stay in Bellator? Come on now, he's making he's making sick money to fight trash. I would have did that too. I ain't making fun of him. I'm being for real. He's a smart dude. Pretty sure he was. I
But
think
he runs the risk, and I know you just said that you're in it for the money, but he runs the risk of being marginalized by the UFC's machine, and it seems like the UFC has a lot of great respect for Chandler and Eddie Alvarez and things like that. But it seems, like, I mean, with all the bullshit that happened with Fedor, I mean, the UFC essentially just tried to marginalize him as much as possible, and then when he didn't perform so well in Strikeforce, it was done. They were like, "Hey, see, we were right," and he runs that risk. He's one bad fight away from the UFC just going, "See, I told you so."
Yeah.
And then if his at that point his stock can drop tremendously if you lose in a lower organization, because if you lose in the UFC, it's one thing if they give you the opportunity to adjust, or and that's why I always say, it always seems to be, if you're going to go the Ultimate Fighter route, it's almost best to get like third place in that and then stay on the undercard and then adjust to being in there. Look at like Matt Riddle or whatever, had 11 fights in the UFC, was 8-3, and they never put him against a top contender really at any point. Same thing with Matt Brown. Now Matt Brown's just starting to crack he wants a top 10 fight, but the guy's been able to have 11 fights in the UFC without having to fight that kind of competition. And the thing is, if you're winning, when they re-sign you after your 3 fights, you're getting better pay every time. And if you come out there and they're like, okay, we're going to offer you, you're fighting for 20, 25 and 25 or whatever, and they're putting you against, okay, well, like what happened to Roy Nelson, it's like, okay, he's having to fight Dos Santos for $24,000. You're like, what's the point? You're better off just fighting on the undercard for a little bit and then blowing up.
yeah,
So it's important, and that's what Chandler runs the risk of that, because again, the UFC doesn't care about MMA, the UFC cares about UFC. I mean, why they do a lot for MMA in general. At the same time, it's a business, and they're worried about their product.
Yeah.
And if somebody else is going around, like Bjorn runs around and talks about Chandler like he's the best 155er in the world. So let's just say he has a slip up, bad performance, gets caught somehow, something ridiculous happens, and then the UFC uses their marketing machine to go, oh well, I guess they're wrong. And so now, in the hearts and minds of all your casual fans, they're like, oh, Mike Chandler's not that good, and it's like that's bullshit. The guy's really good. So some of the competition the RFA has, though, they've got in your division. I'm not real too familiar, but I know some of the names they have. They've got Pettis' little brother, Anthony Pettis' little brother Sergio, in there as well. He's 45, right?
Nah,
25.
I think he's
25. Holy shit! Oh my god,
As
I'm an
far as my
idiot.
division, I don't know about anybody. I mean, I know about the guy that I'm fighting, and that's about it. I mean,
They seem to have a really good working relationship with the UFC. It seems like we're guys who need to develop a little bit more, who were in the UFC, they go back and they go into the RFA. Like Justin Lawrence. He had some rough fights in the UFC. Okay, well, no problem. Go back, bang out 5 wins, and then we'll talk about bringing you back.
well,
And then
that's
it also
much. That was a big reason why I signed with RFA. Like I said, I know their connection with the UFC. And it's almost like they're like a minor league system for the UFC. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go there, put
they
on
seem
a
to be
couple,
happy with that too.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
go in there, put on a couple performance, and then just like showcase what I can really do. Because honestly, I feel like I was fighting for Bellator. I was on the undercard a lot, and I just really felt like they were kind of like hiding me. In a sense, like what? If a lot of people don't see this guy, they won't uproar about him not being in a tournament. You get what I'm saying? Like I
Hmm.
was hearing a lot of that from people who worked there, who worked in the organization, telling me like, hey, you're always on the undercard because, right now they're trying to put some hype on channel. They want to have people like seeing you. I'm saying like on the main card and be like, why is this guy not in the tournament? And stuff like that. But I mean, there's no fact to that. I'm just saying the rumors and stuff that I heard. But like I said, I'm on the main card of RFA 10. The fight right before Justin Lawrence, and I plan on putting on the show. I don't plan on like going out there. But then again, I don't lay and pray. No, anybody that knows anything about my style knows I've never been the type of guy to just go in there and just wrestle fuck somebody. Like I go out
It's
there,
funny because you totally could. You
yeah,
totally could if
yeah,
you wanted to, but you don't. You don't. You try to, you legitimately try to. Hell, you like I've seen you like. I mean, how many All American wrestlers that actually will throw again? Now I know you don't really do it anymore, but would throw a gi on and compete in a gi tournament or go do go do a gi class, and obviously the smart ones that are trying to expand their horizons or things like that will do that. Try to get a different take on, okay, what's it like when somebody does. But for a guy with your skill set, it probably works in your benefit. Hell, have the other guy be in his no gi stuff, and you'll throw a gi on, so just so he can slow you down, because otherwise people aren't going to be able to match your athleticism and your movements and your skill set as a grappler, because you've done it for years and years and years, and you're just hitting like EJ, how old are you now?
27.
27. Like, you're still another 2 years from your physical prime, and so you're still growing, getting stronger, getting faster, all those things. And um so it's crazy to see, you had this great fighter, he's an MMA guy, wrestler, oh, throw on the gi top and do a little jiu-jitsu, no problem.
RFA has more consistent fights in the World Series of Fighting too, also, right?
Yeah.
They fight more often. World Series of Fighting, I've missed fights because I didn't know they were coming up. As a fan, it was when I find out I missed one. It's kind of weird because I usually don't miss any fights, and I mean it's not something that you can pop in the put in your DVR and it pops up properly when it comes on. Sometimes it'll be day late at 3 a.m. the next day. So
Well,
and
I mean,
it's
you
not.
can really see a difference in what Fox did with the UFC versus what NBC did with the World Series of Fighting. There's a different quality in what they offer too, but just they put them on NBC Sports, don't market it, and the Fox, on the other hand, basically use the UFC as their flagship on starting a new channel. So they got rid of I think Fox Sports 1 took over what Speed was.
Mm-hmm.
Was so they clearly have have a vested interest in developing this show, and so did Bellator with with Viacom and Spike's pushing them, but they're just not. Man, it's just when you hear stuff like that, when they're actually stopping the progress of a fighter. I thought after your fight with Greg Scott, they would put a huge push on you because EJ goes out there and lands throws that you don't see in MMA. You don't see, all these switching hip throws, coming in and blocking a hip on one side, switching hip to the other side and slamming him over. It looked like half of a choke slam, half of a rock bottom, plus judo and wrestling all in one. And then they're like, oh man, that kind of performance is really going to get him some hype. And it did. But then all of a sudden you're like, but where's EJ? How come they're not putting him on the card? Well, they're going to put him against some Russian and stuff like that. They're going to bury the fight. And they put him against the fighter that I know the guy that they put him up against guys with lots of fights, lots of experience. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have EJ on the show, on the podcast, because we look at our own city, and EJ's not even on the power rankings that Knuckle Junkies did. He's on honorable mention, but it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck's going on here, man? We've got all these guys. We talk about hype and whatnot. We've got one of the best up and comer 55ers in certainly in the Midwest, but that can expand to the world if you want to go that far with it. He's deserved of somebody fucking taking a minute to talk about him and say, hey, this guy's got some fucking skill. And the hype machine in St. Louis hasn't even fucking done him justice. So it's and I put that on fucking Bellator, man. I do. EJ's, obviously said they're a good company. He enjoyed working for them. If they can come back with something better, then yeah, maybe down the road that can happen. But I mean, when Bellator's coverage of EJ you know has hindered his popularity in his own home fucking town, fuck yourself, Bellator. That's what I got to say about that.
I feel you on that one. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I mean the thing is like when I went pro, like I only had two pro fights in St. Louis. So when I got signed with Bellator, it was like, you either saw my fights, like you couldn't come see me like fight, so like you got all these guys in St. Louis who have all this hype because they're still fighting in St. Louis. People are actually coming to see them, and it's just like with me, it was like, okay, like if you happen to be watching Bellator that night, you saw EJ fight, but if you didn't, then you didn't see EJ fight, like I mean, if Jim Jenkins is having a show, you're going to know everybody on that show because they're all from St. Louis or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm fighting on a national scene or whatever on a organization that like Bellator just blew up. I would say this year. Like I signed with Bellator 2 years ago. You get what I'm saying? So it's like I was with them as they were still growing and they weren't that big. And then as soon as they started to blow up, it was like, all right, EJ's done, he's leaving. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, they certainly could have kept you. You know, they needed to give you a fucking reason, and they didn't. And so you got to go on to work on other things. Go find some strange in another organization, as Matt Frazier typed into the chat. Said RFA is the new strange.
Yeah. Like I said, they want me back. It's just like I really I can't say I have anything against them. It's just like I had a bad experience for whatever reason, whether it was my fault or theirs or whoever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not passing blame on anybody. It's just I want something else. I mean, who starts fighting and don't have aspirations of being in the UFC? That's just like who says that? That's like going out for a sports team, be like, I'll stick to JV. I ain't trying to be on varsity. Like why are you doing it then? Like I want to be in the UFC, and I did the whole like, oh, go somewhere else. So I've been somewhere else, didn't work out. I'm starting over with RFA. I want to get to the UFC. That's where I want to be.
So your opponent is John Cass. His record's 11-4, correct?
11-4, 12. I've seen 12-4, 11-4, either one.
but he's had all his fights in that Iowa area, right? Kind of been, we can't really compare his strength of schedule versus yours. He seems like he's been fighting a lot of guys that were not winning fighters. He's fighting guys that are like 0-5 or 2-6, things like that.
Yes, sir. I'm not gonna take away from his skill set. Obviously,
Well, yeah, but he hasn't had, it's a strength schedule. Somebody, I'm sure, a local team playing football, like college teams, look great until they have to go play the Ducks or something like that, or play Auburn.
oh yeah, honestly, like the organization he fights for has a reputation of feeding guys, well. I mean, it's like a buffet of like wins over there. And I mean, I looked at his record. Like he's fought bums and he's destroyed them all. And almost every time he's fought somebody good, he's gotten destroyed. And I mean, I look at his record, I'm like, it is what it is. But I'm still gonna respect him as an opponent. And I'm going there like I always visualize my opponent as better than me because then I have to rise my level. And I just plan on just going there and beating the hell out of him. Like I'm not worried about who he's fought. I'm not worried about where he's from or what he's good at. I'm just gonna go in there and put my fist in his mouth.
With this being a fight, it's been a year since you fought. Do you feel like changing your style up at all? Do you feel like you're gonna try different things? I mean, what's your goal out there? You're just gonna go out there and be in the moment? Are you looking to possibly um, take your time a little bit more, or I mean, like what's your head going into this fight right now, as far as like what game plan or so, without specifics, of course, but do you feel like you wanted to change up what you were doing, or
No, not really. Cause honestly, like my last fight, I was probably the best I had ever been. I just didn't get to show it. I got hit with one punch and I was out. Um, I know how to fight. It's just it to me fighting is almost like it's like wrestling. You say go, and I do what I've been trained to do. Like I don't really think about it. And it's just I'm gonna go in there. The ref's gonna ask me, "Am I ready?" He gonna say, "Let's do this," and then I'm gonna put my hands on this guy. And I don't see this fight making it out of the second round. I'm giving the first round for him just being a tough guy, but I don't see him making it past two.
right on, right on. Well, you mentioned your training. What are some of the training influence you have? Obviously, you mentioned working with Tyron, and also working with St. Charles Mixed Martial Arts with Mike Rogers, the guys over there. What are some of the other training influences that you've had? If you want to talk a little bit more about going down to Coconut Creek, or who else you've been working out with.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then, like that's another thing that gives me confidence is just like I go down to American Top Team in Coconut Creek whenever I have a chance because, like I said, I'm an affiliate and I have the opportunity to go there and train. And all summer, I got thrown in there with the wolves. It's just like if you ever watch Dragon Ball Z, I compare it to like going into the hyperbolic chamber and coming back. You know what I mean? You go in there for a day, you come back, and you've had a year's worth of training. I go down there for 3 months, and I come back. You ask anybody in my gym, they will tell you every time I come back. It's not like I was like beasting people before, but nobody wants to go with me. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm in great shape, and it's because I go down there. When I got to American Top Team, I was out of shape. I hadn't like really sparred heavy or nothing like that, and I had to go with Dustin Poirier, Jorge Masvidal, Robbie Lawler. Uh,
Murderers Row,
yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
These are guys who are all getting ready for fights and who are already in shape. So they're better strikers. They're already in shape. I'm fat, haven't done anything, and for 3 weeks, I was pretty much a punching bag. You know what I'm saying? Like there is no break. There is no. Well, I'm not going with him. I'm gonna go with this guy next round, and it's gonna be easier. No, I just got done with Dustin Poirier, a 45 pounder who's taller than me, very technical striker, dropping bombs. Okay, I'm done with him. I'm gonna go with somebody else. Oh, I'm gonna go with Robbie Lawler, heavy-handed ass. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, and don't get me wrong. Yes, I said I was a punching bag for 3 weeks, but even though I was getting my butt whooped because I was out of shape, because I was off technically, I was learning how tough I was because nobody beats me like that except for Tyron every once in a while. So I was like, okay, I just took a 5 minute beating from Robbie Lawler, Dustin Poirier, Jorge Masvidal, while they're in tip top shape, while they're hitting me at full power, full speed, and I got nothing. I can barely breathe. I can barely move, and nobody's able to drop me. I didn't get dropped once. You know what I'm saying? I took a beating, but I took it. I didn't stop fighting back. You know what I'm saying? Like when you start dropping bombs on somebody, they cover up and they don't move. Like I was learning that you know what? I'm a tough motherfucker. Like when the going gets tough, when I get in that fight where it's a war and I have to see what I have left in the tank, I know that I have an endless fucking tank. You know what I'm saying? And then when
Sure.
I got in shape, it was just like I was going toe to toe with everybody.
It's funny that you mentioned Dragon Ball Z. I've got so much to talk about now. So you mentioned Dragon Ball Z, and I was actually going to make a reference to that earlier, where I was kind of like, it's almost like Vegeta and Goku, where no matter what Chandler could do, as Vegeta, he could not rise above Goku's level. He was not able to best him or surpass his level. And the other thing I was going to say when you mentioned that, I actually just watched it. They came out with a new movie back in 2012, and they haven't done the dubs yet. But I got an American subtitle of it. I got it online this morning. I actually watched it. So if anybody wants it, I can pass along.
Oh,
It's
I
it's,
want
it's,
it.
it's
I
pretty
want
damn
it.
good.
I want it.
It's good. All right, I got it on digits, man. I'll get it sent to you guys. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'll just let you guys watch it. But
Yeah, that's exactly. He's definitely the prince of all sayings. He was like he like handed everything
mhm.
like that, and I'm just that naturally gifted guy that just I'm goofy, I'm stupid like Goku, shit like that. You know? Oh man, yeah.
Oh wow, man! See, that's so awesome. See, I didn't know, man. I'm like, yeah, I was like, oh no way, I can make a Dragon Ball Z reference right now. That's so funny. I'm glad you said that, dude. Yeah, yeah, I love that shit.
Are all
Uh,
MMA fighters like huge Dragon Ball Z fans?
I,
Yeah.
I think a lot of MMA fighters are dorks, man.
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
I
yeah.
love some
Because
Dragon
every
Ball
time I
Z.
see Johnny Irish, I think of Krillin.
I like to think of myself as Goku, but yeah, I used to get Krillin a lot. I need to go for that for Halloween. Maybe I'll weigh in with the Krillin outfit on with the little dots on my head and shit.
Oh, that would be so good, man. Because you could find I know there's tons of Dragon Ball Z kids skis out there that you could wear.
Oh, I could sport the shit out of the kids ski too, especially when I'm going to be at 115 that day. I
Be
was
all
thinking
sucked in.
I was actually thinking about doing it, and then I was like, am I really gonna want to fuck around with putting on an outfit and putting makeup on and shit for the
Well, you won't
dots?
really. You'll have to do is just shave and just do 6 dots on your forehead,
Yeah,
and then do the orange gi, man. It'd be perfect, dude. That'd be fucking awesome, dude.
might
You
have
finally do that. That needs to happen. That needs to happen.
to.
That needs to be walking out to that, man. Yeah, dude. That's badass, dude.
It
I'll
is
tell you
day
what.
after
What you
Halloween. I might have to pull that off.
what you ought to do is during the middle of the fight, put your hand up in the air, and I'll throw one of those fucking spinning disc fireworks things that go spinning all over the fucking ring. It can be your fucking destructo disc. I don't fucking care if it causes a riot, dude. That shit needs to happen, and it needs to be up on YouTube.
Catch the ring on fire. Fuck the whole show up. Tegan's gonna love that.
Definitely. Interesting. It reminded me of a story. I remember watching you and Chandler. Well, obviously EJ and Chandler sparring, and then all of a sudden shit broke loose. You guys were wearing 4-ounce gloves, full on punching each other in the face out of a scramble, and it was the most ridiculous. Like, but it didn't seem like. And then you guys afterwards, of course, Mike screams. Everybody stops, and and you guys just kind of look at each other like, I don't give a fuck that I just hit you in the face with a 4-ounce glove, and you didn't care. And it seemed EJ, like, it didn't even seem that you gave a shit that Chandler tried to hit you with a 4-ounce glove. You didn't give a fuck. It was like, whatever. This is the way it is, man. This is
I think, I think
this is the way it's going to be
Tyron
until
pulled
we
me.
fucking die.
Tyron pulled me off of him. I remember that because I was on top. I don't know if you remember.
Mhm.
I was on top of him, punching him, and
Yeah,
Tyron pulled me off of him.
I mentioned that offline after the last week's show. I was talking to the guys. We kept talking after we went off air, and I mentioned that, like, well, since you said it first, yeah. In the scramble, EJ came up first, and I don't know what the fuck happened, but EJ was in position, and they started fucking going big time. I was like, holy shit! I was standing over where the fucking where they used to have Mr. Chicken over in the corner at the old gym, and I
That was
was like,
the last time we trained together.
yeah. I was like, and I looked at that. I was like, these guys will, and it totally is. It's Vegeta and Goku, man. Like, fucking, like one of you guys will be retiring or something like that, leaving your fucking shoes in the fucking ring, and the other one will run to the fucking cage and go, one more, let's fight one more fucking time.
That's
You
why
know, let's.
it really is, bro. Like when I say like it'll never be over. Like I just like it just I can't stand the guy. He don't like me, and it's funny because when we see each other, we speak, we act cool. You know what I'm saying? But we kind of like know like I can't stand you, right? Like, and it's mutual. Like, he don't like me just as much as I don't like him. Unfortunately, like, he's doing a whole lot better right now than I am. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
just like I look like the more bitter one. And the thing is, I really don't even care. I really don't wish bad on him. I just don't like him.
Yeah, it borderlines on that. Like it's fucking like the whole experience when I watched it. I was like, dude, that wasn't like two guys getting pissed at each other. But it was something more than that. It wasn't petty. It was like, you know, it like, and not to like fucking wax romantic about the whole thing, but it hit that beautiful stage where it was just like fucking, two people who were bred to fight each other meeting, like it's they're supposed to fight. It was written long before the two of you were born that you would be fucking bitter enemies and
I
fight
know
each other to the death 100 times.
it's crazy, man. I know. I definitely feel that. It was like, man, I can't get rid of this dude. It's just like, gosh, man. Funny story, dude. This is like one of my favorite stories. Um, I had just got in trouble with Bellator because they called me short notice for a fight. This is about a year ago. They called me short notice for a fight, and I didn't make weight, and the guy didn't take the fight. I was a pound and a half over, short notice, like weeks notice, okay? And I cut a lot of weight, so I kind of need about a week and a half to cut it right and make weight. So they gave me 6 days, which is less than a week, and I missed weight by a pound and a half. Guy didn't take the fight. Long story short, whatever. So I go to San Diego to vacation and hang out with some friends over the summer. And this is a week after that situation. It's 4th of July, and I'm on the beach. I'm drinking. And I just got told by Bjorn Rebney and Sam and everybody working Bellator, you need to get your diet right. You need to stop partying. You need to stop doing this. And I was like, okay, cool. I won't, like, I'm on it. I won't be doing nothing stupid. And then a week later, I'm on the beach, 4th of July, in San Diego, drinking. Where I'm at, it's a block party. There's girls everywhere, like just, just having a good time. All of a sudden, I'm walking back to the car because my phone's dying. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put my phone in the car and like let it charge, and I'm gonna walk back to this party. I'm walking past this party, and like I said, you know what a block party is, where every house on the block is having a party, so there's people outside everywhere you go. And I see this, party full of people, and all of a sudden I see this guy. He's leaning up against a trash can, and he's got this "I'm so much better than everybody here" look. Like, like he's standing up watching people party. Like, look at me, I'm so cool. Like, you need to know who I am. And I just like look hard, and I'm like, look at this motherfucker. And then he sees me, and he sees me see him, and I'm like, what the fuck? So now I walk up on the guy, and we both say this at the same time. We're both in San Diego, California. We both say, what the fuck are you doing here? I swear that's exactly what came out of both of our mouths. And I'm just like, I'm here on vacation. What are you doing here? He's like, me too. It was fucking Chandler. So he's with some big, like 200-pound Brazilian dude. And I'm with one of my best friends, who was one of my roommates, a 133 pounder or whatever. and he knows Chandler, and like we're kind of like doing that awkward like, hey, how's it going? How you been? Good luck. Like we don't really fucking mean it, but we're saying it type shit. And like his buddy, I can see looking at me like, who the fuck is this dude and why they talking like that? And I was just like, whatever. So now I fucking leave. And then 20 minutes later, I text somebody that works for Bellator. I was like, guess what? I just ran into Michael Chandler. And they go, yeah, we know. He just texted Bjorn and said that you were on the beach drinking.
Oh,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
a fucking, that's douchebag shit.
Yeah, it is. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, like I said, like not all, like that was part of my fault, but at the same time, it was like, oh man, like that was like I told him I wasn't gonna be drinking and doing stupid shit, so like it is my fault for doing it, but at the same time, that fucking faggot, like I told you, that's why I can't fucking stand him, didn't have to fucking go snitch on me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, yeah. Like I said, this dude, he just fucking won't leave my life.
You can tell he didn't grow up in the city or anything like that. He grew up out in the
Snitches,
sticks,
snitches.
man. Yeah. That whole like ingrained, don't fucking talk to, don't fucking, you don't rat people out, you just let them fucking do their own thing, you stay out of other people's fucking business. That's you don't get that as much when you grow up in a smaller town, when it's like everybody's business to be in each other's fucking business.
Yeah. He's always been that goody two shoe tattletale. Like I don't do anything bad, but it is what it is. He'll be exposed one day. And honestly, I really don't even care if he gets exposed. I'm just like, dude, I don't care what you do. Why the fuck you telling on me? Like, damn, dude, I'm trying to get vagina just like you are. I'm just gonna tell everybody about it.
So let's just say, man, everything goes well. You get signed up by the UFC, and you win a couple fights in the UFC, and you're fighting on like an FX card or maybe on the main card eventually. What's that gonna do for your love life?
Oh shit, I don't know. I mean, my love life is good. I'm telling you right now, I don't need.
Well, are you gonna be able to differentiate and identify the star fuckers, man? You know,
I
if
mean, I don't know. I always think about like how hard it's hard for me to date right now. I'm not even gonna lie. Just like
well,
I'm
them
not gonna
them
say
star fuckers are fucking crazy, man. Look at your boy Lance, man. Look at your boy Lance. That's all I gotta say. You don't want Lance problems.
I got Lance problem and some. I'm telling you right now, dude. Like, man, I don't even. People think I talk a lot about what I do, and I really don't. Like, if people really knew about what I did, they either kill me or kill themselves. They be that upset. like, like I could go through my Facebook right now and show you the people who throw themselves at me, and I'm just like, first of all, you married. Like, second, like, who
Doesn't
says
that bother you a little bit? That always
like,
bothers me.
yeah, I'm like that really makes me. I'm like, and who sends their vagina through Facebook? But I mean, it is what it is. But like, it's just hard for me to date because, I mean, I'm a faithful guy. Believe it or not, I don't cheat. But I'm at a point in my life where a lot of attractive women want to have sex with me for some reason. So I want to be able to do that without having to. That's why I don't have a girlfriend.
That's some first world problem shit right there.
The struggle, man. It's the struggle.
The struggle. I can't wait to see you make it big just because you're gonna have to deal with that extra amount of bullshit. It's gonna be funny to talk about because I'll probably be like married and six kids and fat and have the normal everyday life and EJ's gonna be our catharsis. He's gonna have to call in once a week just so we we can live vicariously.
I was just saying that I'm married and I'm listening to stories like, damn, that's awesome. Star fuckers, fuck. That's
Yeah,
got it.
man.
That's a problem that doesn't sound like a problem, but I'm sure it is.
Oh, it's a
Dealing with it.
problem because the kind of girls that get involved with a lot of that shit, man. You can't fucking trust them. You can't trust them, especially I mean, think about like NBA players or even like up and coming. Like I know Josh Freeman. He's a quarterback for. Well, I don't know him. I met him and I trained him in some jujitsu and stuff like that. I don't really know him.
Tampa Bay quarterback.
Yeah, he's Tampa Bay quarterback. He was at K State one of the first years I was up there teaching, and just to see how the girls would come up to him, and it was really funny because she was trying to get, get this girl was trying to get with him, and then he leans over to my buddy Joe. Joe's a real good journeyman fighter. He's 17-7 as a pro fighter. Hasn't just can't quite put enough wins together to get picked up by a big organization, but he's been around. He's fought a lot of guys, and he's a good fighter. Real fun guy too. And Freeman's standing there, and he's like, you know what? You got to suck my boy's dick before I'll even talk to you. And the girl's like, I'm not going to do that, blah, blah, blah. Within 30 minutes, she's back up there talking to my buddy Joe, trying to get his number and be like, oh, hey, will you come out a lot or blah, blah, blah. And Joe's like, I'm not getting involved in that at all. So
Yeah,
I
man,
can't imagine.
dude, honestly, I run into a lot of that here in St. Louis. I mean, I have somewhat of a name here in St. Louis. And, like, dude, like, girls, you can't trust them. Like, even the ones who aren't, like, quote unquote sluts, it's just like, they're like,
Oh,
attention.
none of them are sluts. You're special.
Yeah, exactly.
You're special.
I never do this and blah blah blah. And it'd be funny because like I'll see a girl in the club and she'll be talking to me and she'll be like all over me or whatever. And then I'll see three dudes that I know she's talking to, and then like I was talking to this one girl and she used to always brag about like the guys she dated, or she dated a rapper, or she dated a football player. I literally had a girl hook up with me and she was hot, probably one of the hottest girls I hooked up with in St. Louis. Probably one of the hottest girls in St. Louis, to be honest, tell me that she only wanted to hook up with me because I was an MMA fighter and I fought on television. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, I hooked up with John Jay. I hooked up with a guy on the Blues. I hooked up with a couple of Rams players. I just needed an MMA guy that was legit. And I was like, well, glad I could be of service. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I've noticed with girls in St. Louis, you just kind of got to take it for what it is because honestly, it's kind of like hip for girls these days to be more than one guy. It's like the roles have changed, like girls are the ones with like 3 or 4 dudes and stuff like that, and it's just like that's freaking nasty.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's nasty. That's ridiculous. God, man. That's oh, we lost Johnny Irish. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. His daughter tends to sleepwalk, so who knows what interesting story he'll come back with. He said last week that she got into the dog's kennel and peed when she was sleepwalking. So that ought to be interesting when he comes back. But yeah, so the crazy ass girls doing crazy ass stuff, man. I can't. I don't know, man. Not for me. Not for me. I certainly can't deal with more than one. So I do not envy that position. Maybe if I was a younger man. Maybe if I was a younger man. But well, back to fighting. So you're fighting John Cass, and is there anybody any other names that you would like to fight on their roster, or right now you just not, you just whatever happens.
No, not really. I'm focused on Johnny Case or whatever. I mean, I just want to get the W, man, and get paid and keep stacking wins. I'll be surprised if he shows up, because like I said, I've had 8 book fights. I mean, it's been a year since I fought, but I've had 8 book fights, 8 different guys back out. Like, and high level guys. I think a lot of people, like, they say, oh, they see the money, they see the exposure, and then they actually realize, oh shit, I'm finna go fight EJ Brooks. And then I know some people, the first thing you do is you Google a guy, you YouTube him, and the first thing you see is that last fight where I got knocked out. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just knock him out. He has no chin. Okay? Yeah, you think that. And then, like how you're training and you start to like really think about the real shit in a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like it really hits you that you're in a fight and what can happen. I think some people take fights with me right now. They look at that YouTube fight and they say, okay, we can knock him out. And then they realize, hold on, let me look at his other fights. Oh, he got hit in those fights too. Oh, he's fought legit guys. He's fought better guys than the guy that beat him. Maybe he will kick my ass. And I just see that as like what's going on with me and why I can't like get guys to like stay through my fight. So like I'm not gonna be surprised if this guy backs out. I hope he don't. I hope he's a man and stick by his word and gets in the cage with me, But I mean, but the good thing about signing with RFA, if he backs out, they're gonna find me somebody else. It's not like a small show where like if he backs out, they can't find somebody to fight EJ Brooks on short notice.
Sure. Is he are you Matt just mentioned that Alp's having the same problem. Um yeah, so the when you have 8 fighters back out on you, I mean, is it hard to stay motivated? I mean, how
Yeah,
can you stay
honestly,
focused? I mean, especially when you're not making a lot of money to do this right now.
yeah, that's. I even had a conversation with Mike. Like after my fight got canceled in August, I told him I was like, dude, because when my fight got canceled in August, I kind of freaked out and I was like, man, I just might as well hang it up. Like I can't get fights. I can't get to the UFC without fights. And I mean, Bellator wanted me, and I was just like, I know this sounds stupid, but I was like, man, right now I'd rather retire than go back there. Like that's just where I was. I was just like, I was so unhappy with my situation there that it's just like I'm not over that. Like I said, I'm not saying that I would never go back, but right now, not in the near future.
Yeah, you've got to experience something else, because then it's like, if you go back, it's you're the one that's going back, even though
Yeah.
I'm the one that asked you back. But still, yeah, I get where you're coming from on that.
Yeah. So it's just like it was frustrating, man. Wanting money. Like I was supposed to make a lot of money for that August 24th fight, and then the dude backs out like a week and a half before the fight. You know, and that's what I don't get. Like, when you take a fight with somebody, when you're on this level, there are 3 people who make that decision to fight you. So 3 people came together and said, you can beat this guy. Okay? Your manager brings the fight to you and your coach. Okay? He's the number 1 guy. He's the guy that gets the call first. So he wouldn't bring a fight to you that he doesn't think you can win. Then you go to your coach, and your coach says, because nobody know you better than your coach. Okay? So your coach watches that guy, sees what he's good at, he knows you, knows what you're good at, and he decides whether or not you can beat that guy. So now there's 2 people that say he can beat you. And the third and final most important person is you. You look at that guy, you know what you're good at, you trust your manager, you trust your coach, and you say, okay, let's do this. So 3 people have to come together and say, we can beat this guy. So when 3 people say, you can beat EJ Brooks, why the fuck do you back out after training for 2.5 months, a week and a half before the fight? And don't give me the shit you rolled your ankle in practice.
One thing I was talking to people about was, as an amateur, you expect that kind of shit to happen constantly, but I think everybody has this grandiose idea that once you go pro, that doesn't happen anymore. And it's happened more to me as a pro than it was ever as an amateur. I don't know if anybody else has the same issues. Sounds like you have a lot of the same issues. And I know Heatherly's had weird shit like that happen, and a lot of other pros. I mean, I don't understand what it is that makes people want to back out of a fight. If you're a fighter, you should be showing up. I mean, it's going to take a lot to get a real fighter to back out. I mean, I understand being deathly sick or having a serious injury, but you go and look at my coach. He fought with torn ACLs and messed up knees and crap like that. But then you got guys that just, it seems like they just don't want to fight, or they're not feeling it, or they want all the publicity for a fight and then just not have to actually go fight. I hurt my ankle. I can't fight with a hurt ankle. That guy would have beat me and blah, blah, blah. But if you're a fighter, you're a fighter. You should be showing up and doing it.
Or you could do what Will Campazano did and completely leave an organization so he wouldn't have to fight out.
Yeah. I freaking, when I fought that Russian guy who had like over 30-some fights, 2 weeks before the fight, I was grappling with Zach Freeman. We got to a scramble, and we landed on my shoulder. And I like partially separated my shoulder. Definitely should have pulled out the fight. Mm-hmm. Didn't tell Mike. Didn't tell anybody, because I was like, you know what? I can move my arm. It hurts like a bitch, but you know what? I'm not going to feel it in the fight, and I need this money. I went in there, and I beat that dude's ass. And in that fight, I broke my left foot. A month later, I fought Calvin Hackney, a guy who was like 14-2. I went in there and beat his ass. And it's like you said, if you're a fighter, you fight. If you sign a contract saying you're going to fight, you fight. Unless you're definitely ill. Unless you really are hurt. I'm not saying you should go out there and do that. I probably should have took those fights, but I want to fight and I wanted my money.
who doesn't fight injured? You know, I mean, you're training hard. It's slippery, it's sweaty. You're gonna roll ankles. You're gonna pop knees. You're gonna get injured. And it seems like if guys sprain their baby toe, they're gonna freaking not want to fight because it hurts a little bit to walk on.
Some guys are so concerned or so worried about their record that they want to create an ideal winning situation. But the truth is, there's too many variables. Either you show up 100% healed, or you show up in shape. You don't usually get to do both.
To tell you the truth, I don't think I've ever fought where I didn't have some sort of a nagging injury or some sort of something messed up in the years I've been fighting. You're gonna get busted up here and there, where there's a nose that's going to bleed as soon as you get flicked in it because you've been punched in the nose too many times this sparring, or shit, I fought with a torn LCL in my knee. And I mean, I had the idea, well, you know, I think I can still pull it off. I agreed to it. The promoters backed me. My coaches are backing me. People are waiting on the money. My sponsors are behind me. And to back out was just not an option in my book. Other fighters, a whole different ballgame. They're not feeling too good that day. They still show up, and I mean, they don't show up. They'll call in. We got guys that just say they're not feeling it and don't want to fight anymore. It's kind of ridiculous to me that if you're a fighter and you want to do this as a career and everybody's helping you and pushing you, and there's a lot of guys that don't work and their parents help them pay for their shit so they can do this, and then they don't show up and fight. So it's definitely doesn't have the integrity that you'd hope a lot of people would have in the sport. So,
yeah. Well, guys, it's about getting that kind of that time. We're almost approaching the 2-hour mark as usual. But EJ, it's been great having you on the show, man. Give us a lot of great information, some fun stories. We'll be looking for you to do great things at the RFA, and hopefully eventually get that call and go up to the UFC and continue to do great things there, man. Is any parting words for our 3 listeners?
Nah, man, it was great coming on with you guys. I wish my freaking video feed could have went through or whatever and work on that.
I know the ladies could see what the pretty face behind the pretty voice.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't think he needs any more troubles.
Say thanks to Mike Rogers, Tyron Woodley, Ricardo Laborio, Rodrigo Vaggi, everybody that I train with, all my training partners everywhere, sponsors Frank Patino, my buddy Josh Burns, everybody that supports me in MMA,
Great, man. Hey, guys, go out there. If you're a St. Louis fan or a fan of St. Louis MMA or a fan of MMA in general, you need to look out for EJ Brooks, man. He's about to do great things. He's on the cusp. Couple of wins, man. Get your T-shirts and autographs early before he doesn't have any time for you.
Pretty much.
All right, Dan, you got anything for us?
That's about it. Great having you on, EJ. Haven't really got to talk to you too much in person, but always a fan. Watch you fight for a long time, and it was awesome having you on. Great stories that you told tonight, too.
Thanks, man.
All right, MMA sucks fans. Suck a dick, no homo.